Hello, guys. This is your girl, the SkkyZone. I'm here for part 3 of the reading of Soulacoaster. Soulacoaster is a book. It's called The Diary of Me by RKelly. This book is RKelly's book. Okay, this is not some type of Jim Derogatis book or a book that was produced by someone else. Okay, and this book was published in 2012. Okay, people have been asking me about the publication and the the author. So this is his book, okay, The Diary of Me by RKelly. Okay, and this book is a Smiley Books is the publication. Okay, chapter 3 begins with hooping ahead. It says, my hoop skills rather got me on my elementary school basketball team. Our team did really well and the school was proud of us. As a result, I had some positive energy moving through me. Basketball was a way for me to feel good about myself. Our coach, Mr. Wright, was a smart and honest man. When it came to ball, coach was all business. He demanded the best from you. He was firm but fair. I wasn't the greatest player in the world, but I had a great desire to win. My hard work and my hustle was undeniable. Coach saw my desire and encouraged it. He knew how bad I wanted to win. I respected his attitude and he respected mine. He started me as a forward. My jump shot might have looked a little funny, but it was falling. I was reading the defense, forcing turnovers, cashing in on fast breaks. The basketball court was where I shined. The basketball court never was the problem. The problem was the classroom. Because of my reading, I kept falling further behind. I had ways of covering it up, skipping classes, pretending I lost my book. But I knew that one day it'll all catch up with me, and it did. I was held back a few grades, but because of basketball, I was allowed to slide at school. This reading problem hurt my heart so bad because of all or how long I wanted to read books and wanted to know what was in those books. I had a desire for learning. I had an imagination that drew me to stories. When I looked through pictures, for instance, pictures seemed to be waving at me. If our class took a trip to the museum, I became part of the paintings on the wall. If there was a picture of a man on a boat in the middle of the sea, I'd make up stories in my mind. Sort of like the man had a dream of being on an enchanted island where a princess was waiting for him. She was the love of his life, and he was sailing all across the world just to find her. I felt like birds without wings. I had the desire to fly, but just couldn't do it. I had the desire to read stories, but just didn't know how. To me, stories were the most beautiful things in the world. I'm in love with hearing a good story. When our class went to see The Black Stallion, the story jumped off the screen into my soul. The movie was so powerful and inspiring to me. A boy and a horse surviving a shipwreck, stranded together on a deserted island. After they were rescued, they achieved the impossible. The Black Stallion made me believe that I could survive my struggles and I could overcome the obstacles in my life. Things that I didn't think I could ever do, I believe now that I could. We saw Star Wars. That movie touched me too. I could relate to Luke Skywalker overcoming Darth Vader. I understood what the Force was all about. From that day on, I wanted to believe the Force was with me and would get me through those dark days at school. During my last year of elementary school, nothing could stop our basketball team. We buried the rest of the league and we wound it up undefeated champs. But I couldn't be any sadder because there was no way I could graduate with the rest of them. I had too many F's. My failures had caught up with me. I was going to be held back in elementary school while the rest of the guys would move on to high school. Then came the news. A teacher called me into her office and said it plainly. You'll be graduating with everyone else. I couldn't believe it. I thought she had confused me with another student. I even asked her to repeat it. Could you say that one more time? It's not impossible, Robert, she said. You'll be graduating. We all know that you have a strong desire to win. You've proven that in basketball. So we're hoping that when you get to high school, you'll show that desire in the classroom. But you realize that in high school, won't no one be there to help you. You won't be able to fool yourself when you get into high school. If you don't try harder and make passing grades, high school will kick you out. I thanked her and left, but her words hung heavy on my head. Her words were echoing inside my brain. A week later, my mother and I went to my elementary graduation. I was smiling at the same time I was frowning. I was feeling funny about the whole thing. I knew I had gotten a pass. I knew I hadn't earned this diploma. All the families were there. Everyone was happy and proud. Aunts and uncles, cousins and grandmas crowding around the graduates, taking pictures, congratulating, wishing them well. As they called out the names of the classmates, I was flashing on all the games we won. The points I scored, the plays I made, the championship, the trophy, the pride that came with the victory. I also remember how the other kids learned to write and read while I couldn't. Flashing on all those times when staring at a word on a page, my eyes went blurry and my mind went blank. Flashing on how it feels to get all F's. In my heart, I knew I didn't deserve this diploma. The feelings haunted me. I felt like I was living a walking nightmare. The principal called out our names. Each of us got up to get our handshake and our certificate. Terrence Smith. Terrence got up, hurried across the stage where he was handed his diploma. Larry Washington. Larry walked up, got his diploma. I saw the faces on my fellow classmates and their families. Everyone was filled with pride except me. I was filled with shame, so much shame that when they called my name, I walked across the stage, took the diploma, threw it into the audience, and ran out of the auditorium. My mother ran after me. We were out in the parking lot when she asked, "What's wrong, son?" "I don't deserve it," I said. "I didn't earn it. I want to be able to say, this is mine. I earned this. Then nobody can ever take it away from me." The day will come when you will feel that you did earn it, Rob. You just got to be patient. I remember there was 40 or 50 kids in the classroom. Everyone seemed to be old friends. I didn't know a soul. I took a seat in the first row and thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? I felt like an alien. Room 126, Kenwood Academy, situated in the same Hyde Park neighborhood as the world-famous University of Chicago, where President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle once lived, was considered a great high school that attracted the smartest kids who would wind up going to the best colleges. I got to go there not because I was smart, but because I played basketball. I was happy for the chance to keep playing with my teammates and to move up to a higher league. I was totally blinded by my past and I couldn't see into the future. In my fantasy, I had a shot at the NBA. I felt good about basketball, but I didn't feel good about high school because I knew eventually everyone would find out that I couldn't read. I was afraid I'd lose my shot at my pro basketball and my dreams of a better life. I couldn't go back to grammar school, and I didn't know how I was going to get through high school. I was trapped. I never had teachers like in grade school who would help passing me. Besides, I didn't want that. I wanted to learn to read like everyone else. On my first day at Kenwood, I went to music class. held in room 126. I didn't know what to expect. I was there. I remember there were 40 or 60 kids in the classroom. Everyone except me seemed to be old friends. I didn't know a soul. I took a seat in the front row and thought to myself, what the hell am I doing here? I felt like an alien. Then the teacher arrived. The minute she stepped into the room, all talking stopped. Her hair was stylishly done. I saw from how she was dressed that she had class. Her eyes were dark brown. Her eyes were looking over the room, seeing who's who and what's what. Her eyes told me that she was no substitute teacher. This lady wasn't playing. Her name was Miss Lena McLin. She said, there are 2 students in here with gum in their mouths. I'm going to give them 2 seconds to put that gum in the garbage or I'll fail them. Right away, 20 students got up and put their gum in the trash. I saw that this lady was smart. If she said 6 seconds, they would have had time to think about it, and maybe only 5 or 6 kids wouldn't got up. She could sure take charge of a classroom. Next thing I know, she was pointing right at me. I got scared and checked to see if I was chewing gum. I wasn't. I didn't know what she wanted from me. Do you know who you are? Yes, ma'am. I'm RKelly. No, you are God's child. The Spirit of God is on you, son. You are going to be famous. You are going to write songs for Michael Jackson. You are going to travel the world. People will pay to see you. You are anointed. God has given you a gift that no one can take away. I had never met this lady before, and she had never met me. I didn't have a clue as to what she was talking about. I had heard prophecy stuff before, but never about me. Besides, I wasn't into prophecies. I didn't believe them. Even in my mother's church, I was always too shy to jump up and start hollering. I never did catch the Holy Ghost. Now, here at school, this teacher was talking in tongues, and I was confused as I could be. I love music, sure, but my main plan in life was to play basketball. Meanwhile, Miss McLin kept on talking, even as she walked over to the upright piano and sat down. She began playing gospel chords, which seemed weird to me. I never seen a teacher play gospel songs. While she was playing, she was praying. Praise God. Praise his holy name. Praise him for giving this child a talent that the world will recognize. Praise him for this boy in my classroom where he can grow. Lord, let him grow. Keep him strong. Then she looked over at me and said, stand up, boy. I want you to sing. I'm not really a singer, I said. I'm a basketball player. Son, you're not a basketball player anymore. You're singing today. Just follow me. Start singing Billy Preston's You Are So Beautiful to Me. I followed her and sang the same words, the same notes. I was so shy. Though I thought I wouldn't face the class, I just faced her. Her face, bright and smiling, gave me confidence. Her voice inspired my voice. I started singing stuff that was amazing, even to me. Something clicked in me. I didn't know exactly what. I started flying. The weirdest situation came all over me. I was able to sing lower than I ever had. I was able to go higher. New ideas popped in my mind, in my head. I could sing them all. The girls in the class were going crazy, and the guys were giving me the woo-woo dog chill. I was a new person. This woman was taking me somewhere I had never been before. I had a new lease on life. Part of it had to do with the girls, though, okay? In high school, if you was light-skinned or could sing a little, it was a wrap. I wasn't light-skinned, but having heard me sing a song, the girls were showing me serious love. That was enough to make my day, but not enough to make me change my mind. I still wanted to be Michael Jordan. The next day, I was at basketball practice when I saw Miss McLin coming around to talk to my new coach. No one had told him about my reading problem, so he thought I was like everyone else. "Do you have a RKelly?" she asked. "Yes." "Call him over here, please." Coach called me over. I stood in front of both of them. "I want Robert off the team," said Miss McLin. "He's a good player," said the coach. "Doesn't matter to me how good he is. His music comes first. Robert must be focused. Basketball is a distraction, but he loves it. I realize that. But if he plays ball and does music, he'll be winding up diluting them both. He's going to have to choose." "But shouldn't that be his choice?" the coach asked. "God has already made the choice," Miss McLin explained. "God has given this boy a precious gift, and I wouldn't want to defy God's will, would you?" I had some thoughts about Miss McLin's attitude. Music was cool, but hoop was still my heart. I couldn't give up on hoop. "You aren't giving up," she explained. "You're just giving up your place on the team. Basketball is good recreation, and I'm sure you'll be playing it for the rest of your life. But I need to, you need to listen to me, young man. You need to be in this music classroom every single day. I expect you to arrive early and leave late. I expect you to work twice as hard as any other students." "Why?" I asked. "Because you're twice as talented. One day, your records will be bought by millions. One day, your songs will be played all over the world." I was asking myself, how is that possible? That's just a crazy lady talking crazy talk. "You think this is crazy talk?" Miss McLin said, as if she was reading my mind. "But you can ask anyone in this school and they'll tell you that I'm not a crazy woman. I am a serious woman. I am a God-fearing woman. I am a trained musician, professionally trained by my uncle, Thomas A. Dorsey." "Have you ever heard of Thomas A. Dorsey, Robert?" "No, ma'am." "Thomas A. Dorsey was a genius. They called him the father of gospel music. He started out playing the piano for a famous blues singer called Ma Rainey in the 20s. You need to study these, Robert. This is your heritage. My uncle used to go by the name Georgia Tom. In 1928, he wrote a song and recorded it with Tampa Ray Red called Tight Like That sold millions of copies. Then in the 30s, his wife died, giving birth to his son. The baby died also. My uncle was so grief-stricken that he wrote a song called Precious Lord, Take My Hand. I know that song. I said, my mom sings it. Everyone sings it. Aretha Franklin sang it at Dr. King's funeral. But before that, Mahalia Jackson sang it. I know you've heard of Mahalia Jackson. She sang here in Chicago. Mahalia got famous singing my uncle's song, like Peace in the Valley. When Uncle Thomas went from writing blues songs to gospel, some people didn't like that, okay? Though some people didn't like that, I'm talking about church people. They thought his church songs sounded bluesy and jazzy. Well, they did. But Uncle Thomas knew that there's no sin in writing a gospel song with jazz chords. No sin in putting blues feelings in God's music, because all music is God's music. You must understand, Robert, that Uncle Thomas invented gospel because he wasn't listening to anyone except God. He knew that God wanted his message to be sent to the world. And if a jazzy feeling or a bluesy feeling made God's message more appealing, then so be it. Uncle Thomas taught me to play the piano, to write music, and to recognize a genius. He had genius, Robert, and I see this genius in you. I still have to come early and leave late, Robert asked. I asked. Every single day. Not only that, but I'm going to teach you more than popular singing and gospel singing. I'm going to teach you opera. Opera? That's right. I'm going to teach you the most difficult singing there is. The more styles you learn, the better you'll be. I wanted to complain. I wanted to say that I still wanted to be on the basketball team. I wanted to refuse to come early and leave late. I wanted to reject all this hard work she was about to put on me. But I didn't open my mouth for one simple reason. The lady intimidated me. I love Miss McLin. I loved her because I could feel that she loved God. She loved music, and she loved me. She was strong, but I was used to strong women. My mother was strong. Miss McLin couldn't sing like my mom. She didn't have mom's powerhouse voice. She could teach me things my mother couldn't. Miss McLin knew about breathing. She taught me to breathe deeply from my diagram. Shallow breathing leads to shallow singing, she said. And you aren't a shallow singer, Robert. You're a singer who must sing from your soul. Miss McLin gave me a song where the notes were too high for me to reach. She said, lift your eyebrows when you sing. I lifted my eyebrows and hit the notes. Then when the notes got higher, I complained and I couldn't hit them. She said, think of a jet plane soaring through the clouds. Think of the highest, tallest things that you can imagine. I thought of the jet and the Sears Tower and hit the notes. Remember, he was talking about that in the first reading, how he was telling that tower he was going to be tall as him. But then when the notes got ridiculously high and there was no way in the world I could sing them, she pressed my stomach real hard. I hit the notes. This is a technique that I still use today. That's how I hit those notes on when a woman loves, by thinking about jet planes, the Sears Tower, and the sun and the stars. Miss McLin gave me a song called Amadea, the first love song. She said it was written in Italian 40 years ago. I couldn't sing that old. I couldn't sing a song that old, I said. I can't sing a song written in Italian. But I did. Miss McLin showed me that I could sing anything. Miss McLin said I could write an aria. And I could create it in aria. Miss McLin said I could create a gospel song, a love song, and a dance song. So I created them my way, all in the same afternoon. She told me she had written cadence, masses, orchestra works for piano and violin. She even written electric music. If I can do it, Robert, she said, so can you. Miss McLin was college trained. She went to Spelman in Atlanta and then earned her master's degree in music from the American Conservatory in Chicago. Whatever melodies I have inside me, she said, you have even more inside you. Those melodies in you are limitless because they're coming from a limitless God. Our job is to praise him through the music. As long as you keep praising him, he's going to keep blessing you. I got to the point that if Miss McLin told me that I could jump off the Sears Tower and fly over Lake Michigan, I'd be jumping and flying. When it came to music, Miss McLin did wonders for my confidence. When it came to reading, though, I was still sunk. At one point, my reading was so shamefully bad, I stopped going to classes altogether. I couldn't take the pressure. I ran to the music room instead. But even there, I ran into trouble. There was this guy called Charles Craig. He was a Herbie Hancock fan and a wizard of the keyboard, another protege of Miss McLin. Not only could Charles play great, he could also write great. Gospel, jazz, blues, pop, classical, the whole 9 yards. Meanwhile, I couldn't play an instrument or read or write a single note of music. I didn't know the sharps from the flats. When I looked at the musical score, I got a headache. I did everything by ear. Being around Charles was a little intimidating, but I saw how much Miss McLin admired him, and it made me want to learn the piano. By watching him, though, I also learned something. He was a bad little guy, but when he read from the sheet and played it flawlessly, it sounded cold. It didn't feel good. On the other hand, when he let loose and just improvised, it felt great. I wanted to play in a way that felt great. Miss McLin always talked about following that good feeling whenever it leads. When I found this secret room at my school that everyone seemed to have forgotten about, it became another place, a safe place, where I could escape from my classes and the world. And there was a piano in it too. Ribbon in the Sky. But even in my music class, my shyness had me acting strange. It was Miss McLin who handed me a pair of sunglasses and told me to put them on, and it worked. I pretended to be Stevie Wonder. That was easy because I was doing this Ribbon in the Sky. My classmates encouraged me. They gave me the confidence to sing before the entire student body. On the day of the contest, I wore shades. I even had my friend Larry Hood guide me on the stage like I was blind. I was still too shy to look at the audience and sing. Charles Craig accompanied me on the piano. When I got to the line that says, "There's a ribbon in the sky for our love," the screaming started. The screaming got out of hand. I was afraid that I might start a riot, but I was so overjoyed though. Girls were screaming for me. Everybody was screaming for me. That day was like Peter Parker. I got bit by the spider, a music spider. If Peter was a spider, man, I became the music man. I got a feeling that day that I had never gotten on the basketball court. I felt love like I had never felt before, except from my mother. This time it was coming from 500 people in the audience, but it felt like 1,000,000 to me. I wanted to experience that feeling again and again. I had taken a chance, gotten my courage up, and earned those screams. I earned the audience love. That feeling of connection began to replace a lot of darkness. It eased the shame I felt inside. I went from feeling out of place to thinking that maybe, just maybe, this was the reason why I graduated. Maybe this school was exactly where I was supposed to be. Miss McLin saw me as a winner and did everything in her power to make sure I saw myself the same way. But I couldn't. No matter how good it felt to make music, I couldn't get away from the fact that I was at the very bottom of my class. In a school where hundreds of kids were reading their books and finding their way, here I was lost. History, geography, I can't even say it. Oh God, science and literature, they all require reading. Oh my goodness, I can't say the geography. I can't say the word good. But I started to wear the glasses at the same time, hiding behind them, hoping no one see me, call on me, or realize I wasn't alive. I walked down the hallways, particularly hugging the wall, dragging my head against it like I was crazy. I ran from the classes and started locking myself into a little room at the back of the music room. It was really just a storage closet no one used, with a lot of junk in it. Some broken down chairs and untuned upright pianos. I went in there every day, basically just to hide. But while I was hiding, I figured I might as well try to play the piano. I wanted to show Miss McLin that I could play the piano too, like Craig. I started messing around, making these little 2-finger chords. It was slow, but they sounded good to me. 2 fingers became 2 fingers and 1 bass finger on the other hand. That became 3 fingers, then 4, then 4 fingers. Bass became 1 finger, 2 fingers, and so on. I kept it simple. I started figuring out melodies on the piano. And I started figuring out melodies on the piano. I did this for a whole year. I got to take a drink, y'all. Excuse me. Oh, my mouth dry. That's because I'm smacking. Excuse me for smacking, okay? Forgive me, all right? I know y'all probably said that on the last one. Like, she's smacking in between. When I did the replay, I apologize. I'm like, girl, why you smacking? Anyway, let's get back. Okay. Where was I at? I kept it simple. I started figuring out melodies on the piano. I did this for a whole year. It was really how I started writing songs on the piano. By the end of that school year, I had so many songs I had learned and written on the piano. Miss McLin tried to figure out just how I was learning so quickly. She had no idea that I was practicing and teaching myself every day in that closet. On the negative side, I was ditching all my classes and hiding in the storage room. When the bell rang, I put my dark shades on. I would leave the room and walk down the hallway like I was going to class, but then turn around and go right back to that room. I never walked the hallways without my shades. I felt like they made me disappear. I kept my head down. I did this for a long time. Then I got caught. The school was about to kick me out, and rather than face my mother, who whipped my butt when she found out how much I had skipped, I decided to run away from home. I was feeling a little nuts. Somehow, Miss McLin found out what was happening and called me to her office. You got to stay in school, she said. You got work to do. I can't do my schoolwork, I said. I can't stay in school. You'll get help, Robert. I'll see to it. The principal says I'm beyond help. She told me that with all my failing grades and all these classes I skipped, she's throwing me out. I don't want to be there when my mother finds out. I want to be on the bus going to Alaska. I'll see the principal myself. Next thing I know, Miss McLin took my hand and walked into the office of the principal, who was a take no prisoner kind of administrator. I felt like the scarecrow brought for an audience with the Wizard of Oz. I'm a little busy right now, the principal said. So am I, said Miss McLin. Busy trying my best student to be an important musician whose influence will be felt all over the world. My only problem, though, is that he says he's being expelled. He is. That's unacceptable. I cannot stand idly by. He needs education. It's not like he's gang banging or selling drugs. The boy's doing his best. That's not what my report says. Your reports are wrong. I know. I should know. I'm his teacher. His other teachers don't agree with you. They share my view that Robert is not an acceptable student. Let me be direct, said Miss McLin. You always are, said the principal. Robert has failing grades, she defended, and there's nothing more I can do. Well, there's something I can do, my teacher responded, standing up and pointing her finger directly at the principal. I can go to the press and tell my story. I could tell them that we have a musical genius here at Kenwood High School who is being kicked out to the curb. I can tell the truth. Here at Kenwood, talent has blossomed, and this young man in question is brimming with talent. Your choice is simple. You see, all you have to do is listen and take my word for it. You see to it that he gets help, or I see to it that your treatment is reported far and wide. I'll see to it the whole world knows. Well, if that's how you see it, Miss McLin, it is how I see it, she said. It's how it is. She said, it isn't how I see it, it's how it is. Miss McLin saved the day. I got to stay in school. It had taken a long time, but the turning point had arrived. Music, not basketball, became my calling. I saw that. I felt that. For the first time, I felt like I was being introduced to my true self. Meeting the real Robert. The real Robert was a profound healing for me. I dedicated myself to music. I also dedicated myself to helping Miss McLin in any way I could. I owed her everything. She took me all over the city. When they lit the big Christmas tree in downtown Chicago, she had me sing, "Joy to the world, the world." That night, I was on the news. When Oprah asked Miss McLin to put together a choir, I was in that choir. One day, my mother asked, "Why are you spending this time with that woman outside of school?" "'Cause she getting me on TV. She telling the world about me. Last month, she even took me to her church, the Holy Vessel, where she's the pastor. She had me sing, and during her sermon, she even talked about me. He's a good, how's a teacher gonna be a pastor too?" asked my mother. Sometimes God put people in places where they life because Robert needed a certain kind of schooling. I don't know, but she is. Well, you don't need to be going to her church. We got our own church. You're my boy, not hers. The fact that my mother was jealous of Miss McLin being a part of my life made me love my mother even more. But Miss McLin was changing my life. She was giving me a future. I needed to keep on going to her church. When she sat down and played the piano in her church, for example, she had me sitting on the bench next to her. I was there to turn the pages on her sheet. I couldn't read the music, but when it came time to turn, Miss McLin nodded at me. I turned the page perfectly. Everything I did for Miss McLin, I wanted to be perfect. Miss McLin wanted to take me to Memphis for a gospel convention. She was going to play, and she was going to have me sing. I was excited. Never been outside of Illinois. Never been on a plane. I was going to be able to learn a lot, see a lot, and be with the choir. "You can't go to Memphis," my mother said. But wait a minute, why? "Decision is final, boy. It's too far from here, and God knows what's going on at that convention. It's a gospel convention. You don't think gospel folk party?" But Miss McLin will be watching out for me. Miss McLin, that's all you know, boy. I'm tired of you talking about this Miss McLin. I'm tired of hearing about that woman. I kept begging, but couldn't convince my mother to let me go to Memphis. Then one night, she came into my room and saw me crying. "What's wrong, son?" she asked. "I gotta go to Memphis. I really do." I could see that my mother was moved by my tears. Finally, she said, "Well, let me just talk to this lady and see what she says or has to say for herself." Right then, I got a burst of joy and confidence. I felt like things were going to work out. A few days later, Miss McLin was in our kitchen talking to my mother. It had just, I just had to meet this person who's going to take my son or keep my son smiling more than I do, my mom admitted. I know I've been taking up a lot of your boy's time, Miss McLin responded. You sure have. And I know how much he means to you. He means the world. And all I can say is that no one can or will ever take your place. You got that right. You're the person who first inspired his music, Miss McLin continued. And I know that for the rest of Robert's life, you will continue to be his main inspiration. Glad to hear that. Well, it's the truth. But sometimes God's put people in places where they need to be. I know the good Lord placed me in Robert's life because Robert needed a certain kind of schooling. And for that, I'll always be grateful to God. Praise his holy name. Amen. So what I'm saying is that Robert has a destiny. You're the main ingredient to this destiny. He was born of your flesh and contains all the music that God put in your heart. In a much smaller way, I'm also part of God's destiny. I was put here to show him certain things, encourage him in certain ways, and take him to certain places. I believe that Memphis is one place that God wants me to take him. My mom started to answer back, but didn't. At that moment, I felt her jealousy melting like an ice cube on a noonday sun. Soon they were talking heart to heart, mother to mother. A week later, I was on my way to Memphis. So this a picture of him in the choir right there on the way to Memphis. Okay. In the basement. In high school, I was this nappy-headed kid, sure. It helped when I started singing, but I couldn't really compete with the guys who wore Izod shirts and fresh Adidas sneakers. They made money and I didn't, okay? They had money rather and I didn't. I came from the hood. I used to draw the alligator on my shirt and I do it carefully and hopefully nobody looked too closely. It seemed like ever since I started doing talent shows, pretty girls started paying attention to me. I met a girl in school named Saji. No, her name is, Saja. That's her name, Saja. I'm going to go with Saja. Who seemed like, to me, I met a girl in high school named Sajay, who seemed to like me rather for who I was. I didn't have a crush on her, but she was pretty and sexy. We ended up getting together. I appreciate how Saji appreciated me. But I have to say, there was another girl who really got my attention. Her name was Billy, and we're still friends to this day. But she see me only at her mom's house. She wouldn't really associate with me at school. Billy was in a clique of girls that ran with the Izod boys. All of their boyfriends were basketball players. I knew I didn't come up to their standards, but she was beautiful and I didn't care. I met her on the QT if that was what she wanted. I'd meet her anywhere. Then there was Charlene. She sang in the choir and was almost a talented dancer. You sure that ain't Dre and all? Sometimes she wore leotards to class. Sometimes ballet dresses. She was gorgeous. She was the Beyonce of Kentwood. Whenever I saw Charlene, I heard music. I got shy whenever she came into the room. I came from a beautiful family. She came from a beautiful family. Excuse me, y'all. I don't know. Oh, Lord. Excuse me. She came from a beautiful family. Her mom and Miss McLin were friends. and she was talented. Man, I really wanted to get next to Charlene, but she didn't really see me that way. We were cool, but only as friends. And the only way I could change that was in my make-believe. When Miss McLin asked me and Charlene to do a musical together, she did the choreography, and Charles, Craig, and I wrote the music. I made her my girlfriend in the play, and that's how I got to kiss Charlene on stage. I'm laughing, y'all, because this reminds me of somebody who was telling their story about him, and they met at you know that person, right? And so this is making me think about them. Not Drea either. This other, the one. Okay, let me finish, guys. Let me finish. Okay. My mind going somewhere else. I made her my girlfriend in the play. That's how I got to kiss Charlene on stage. In public. In private, she wasn't having it though. When I was 17, I met Chance, who was an older woman. My homie was kicking it with Chan's sister. She'd always call me cutie pie, shower me with affection. I had a deep crush on her. We walk in the park, go to the movies, and talk all night. I fell in love with Chance. Who knew more about love making than me? She had experience. Okay, he said I fell in love with Chance, who knew more about love making than me. So Chance was really experienced, okay? She had experience, and I was eager to show her that I was mature for my age. We were falling deeper in love and learning about each other's bodies. Soon, I thought, I know all there is to know, except, to my surprise, I didn't. One day at my mom's house, we were making love in my room when I happened to look down and saw blood. I pulled out and saw that I was covered in blood. I panicked and started crying. What the hell is going on? I asked Chance if she was bleeding too. And she said, yeah. She tried to explain something, but I ran out the room and went straight to my sister Teresa. What happened? I demanded. You ain't bleeding, she said, sis. She is. She just having her period. Teresa explained how the monthly cycle works. I understood, but I also didn't want to go back in there. The blood was too much for me. It freaked me out. When it came to sex, I swore I was done, and I was. I didn't have sex with another girl for about 3 or 4 years. Oh my God. This man is something else, I swear. Okay, easy. One Saturday afternoon when I was in my late teens, I was hanging out with my boys and we were bored. We decided to go downtown. How? How about Rush Street, Rob? Rush Street is cool. Let's see what's happening on Rush Street. Rush Street is on the north side of Chicago Avenue. Had very expensive restaurants, cool night spots, had lots of rich folks and tourists walking around. It was just where the people with money would be at. Okay, Rush Street was beautiful. We got some bus transfers, rolled downtown, jumped off, and there we were in the middle of the mix. Kids from the hood hanging with the rich people, checking into and out of the scene. Rush Street was crowded with tourists, businessmen, and fine ladies. Compared to where we live, downtown was like a whole new world. And every time I went there, I always wanted to be a part of that world. Me and my boys were sitting on a ledge near a fancy apartment building where we had a front row seat to what was going on. I noticed a guy playing the guitar had attracted a little crowd. His playing wasn't great, and his voice was even worse. But people were busy throwing money into his open guitar case. That's when I got an idea. Hey man, watch this, I told my homies. I put on my shades, took the Chicago Bulls baseball cap off my head, put it on the ground, and started singing Easy, Easy Like Sunday Morning by the Commodores, a song I knew everyone loved. But the cars and trucks going by, wait a minute. Yeah. But the cars and trucks going by, it was kind of hard to be heard. So I sang really loud. I gave my solo everything I had. 4 or 5 people passing by stopped and smiled, nodding in my direction. One guy gave me a thumbs up and dropped some change in my cap. Another guy stopped and listened to me for about 2 or 3 minutes. Then he dropped in a buck. A woman did the same thing, then another, then another. Before long, my cap was overflowing. I kept singing and folks kept dropping bills. Before I knew it, I had made close to $75. I had never seen that much money at one time in my whole life. I took me and my boys to a famous pizza place right in the middle of downtown called Giordano's. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You Chicagoans. Excuse me, because I'm messing it up. I'm fucking it up. Anyway, and though it didn't look like we would belong, and though it didn't look like we belonged there, 4 or 5 raggedy young boys from the project, I had more than enough money to feed all of us. And that's just what I did. We ate good and even carved my name in the wall at the Giordano's restaurant. Okay, it's a tradition there. Great job, Rob. Easy day. Just like Sunday morning, I crowned. I think I might come back here tomorrow. No one said a word. My friend Silence gave me that idea. Even though I was treating them to pizza, they looked down on what I had done. To them, street performing was like begging, like being a bum. But I ain't care. Shoot, it paid me well. Next day, I went back to Rush Street by myself and made $90. I was there for a lot longer and my throat got hoarse, but I hang in there. I loved it. And so did the passing crowd. I felt really good to sing for people and make them smile. It felt even better taking my money home to my mom to help out with the rent. Y'all got all this money by singing, she asked. People like the way I sang, Mom, I said. I knew it, she said. I always knew your singing was good enough for you to get paid. Are you proud of me, I asked. Son, she said, I couldn't be prouder. Although my school life, all through my school life, kids made fun of me once they found out I couldn't read. At home, even my brothers and sisters did the same. They called me all kinds of nasty names. I would always try to avoid getting into it with my brothers and sisters because every time we would get into a fight, first thing would come up is no matter who was around was the fact I couldn't read, write, or spell. I remember that feeling to this day. Lanice, who was a classmate who used to sit at a desk directly across from me in the 6th or 7th grade. One day, I noticed her watching me fumble around with my pencil while we were taking a test. She asked me if I was okay. I said right away, yes, I'm good. And she started staring intently started staring intently at my test like I knew what I was doing. But her vibe let me know that she didn't believe me. I started filling in circles fast so that from her perspective, it would look like I was acing this test. But sadly, I was falling in it every way possible. I couldn't wait for the bell to ring because I was so embarrassed. Recess was my only way to escape at time. I would sit outside the school steps and just watch all of the other kids stop playing around. I mean, some playing around. Excuse me, man. I am dry. My mouth is dry. And this is 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to read this book. Excuse me. This is my last chapter because I'm getting caught up. That's no excuse. I'm just saying. Let me read that part over. Excuse me. I'm burping and shit. Y'all probably like this. Recess was my only escape at this time. I would sit back or sit outside on the school steps and just watch all the other kids. Some playing around, some talking and laughing, some playing sports. I would ask myself, why me? Why can't I read and write like everyone else? Why do I start to yarn every time I get ready to read something? Why is it that every time I open a book, confusing music notes starts to ring in my head really loud as I look at the letters? My mother had sat up with me many nights trying to help me learn to read and write. She would even give me spelling bees. She would sit down with me and spell out a word. Then she would make me sing the word while spelling it out. After nothing else worked, man, I can't read tonight. After nothing else worked, what it is, some of the pages, they are different colors, so the light from my light is gleaming off my glasses and everything. But anyway, guys, I'm going to do my best to finish this chapter, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to start reading it in the daytime instead of trying to read it late at night. Anyway, guys, thank you, and bear with me, guys, okay? I'm getting exhausted. I think I'm getting sleepy. Then after, okay, so she would sing the whole word while spelling it out. After nothing else worked. Not knowing what I was doing at the time, I would always make a sentence out of that word and sing it back to her as if it was a song. She would say, "That sounds great, baby, but spell the word." And that's when everything would go blank, 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 blank. That's when I discovered that darkness did not just come from flickering of a light switch, but it also was within me. Failing at reading hurt me a lot more than I ever let on. So when I met Lena, I really appreciate her because she was the only one in school who didn't look down on me. After the first day in class, I started walking her to her next class. Then we started hanging out during recess. She would always talk about dancing. And I would always talk about being successful. Lena never cared about the fact that I couldn't read. She just loved to hear me talk about how I was going to take my mom out the hood and move her to some big old house in the hills, and how the driveway would be filled with all kind of cars, and my mom would never have a worry or care in the world when it comes to having the things she wanted. Lena loved the fact that my dreams of success were built around my mother's happiness. Lena was beautiful inside and out. She had light brown eyes, long sandy brown hair, and a dancer's body. She was a ballerina and a singer who understood my music and my talent, just like I understood hers. She could dance in any style, from classical, ballet to hip hop. She had an old soul and was wise and loyal. Lena always believed in me, and all of that became the ingredients in the recipe to the big pot of love that I fell in. Niece had a grandmother named Grandma Sherelle, who called everyone darling. When I met her, It was like meeting my own grandmother because she made me feel right at home. Grandma Sherelle loved me just like my mother loved niece. Everyone got along like old friends. It felt like family. I remember the first time Lenice took me home to meet her family. Her mom, Marcella, had some questions for me like, where did you meet my daughter? And why did you choose her? We're in the same class in school. I had no disrespect, ma'am, but she's kind of chose me. She also asked me if I had a job and if I was going to college and what I was going to be in life. I told her that at the time I didn't have a job and I doubted very seriously if I was going to college, but I was going to be a very successful singer. And Lenice's mom laughed at me. She laughed at me out loud and asked me, how in the hell you gonna be a successful singer or be successful as singer or anything else if you don't go to college? Her mama sounds just like somebody on these YouTube streets. But it's not a woman though. I'm working on that, I told her. Marcella just continued to size me up as she asked me, working on that how? And even though I heard her, I said, huh? How are you working on that? That's when Grandma Sherelle interrupted. Darling, he's not under your investigation, so quit asking him all those questions. If Lenice likes him, then I like him too. So you all might as well get used to it. And that's when I fell in love with Grandma Sherelle. He has good manners. Thank you, ma'am, I said. I try. We better go or we'll be late for the movie, said niece. What are you saying? Asked Grandma Sherelle. What are you seeing, rather? Asked Grandma Sherelle. I said Beverly Hills Cop. That Eddie Murphy is a good-looking boy, said Grandma. He sure is, Lenice agreed. If y'all excuse me for a second, I said, I need to use your bathroom. I had to go real bad, but I didn't want niece's mom and grandma to know I really had to go. In order to make them think I was only peeing, I had to get in and out in a hurry. When I got out the bathroom, niece's grandmother said in a voice that couldn't have been any nicer, darling, you better go back in there and fix yourself. What's wrong, I asked. Niece pointed to the back of my pants. I was in such a hurry. I had torn off tissue paper, toilet paper that was sticking out the back of my jeans. Ooh, we know how that shit can be. Ooh, I done had a day like that, and I done seen some days like that from somebody else. I ran back in the bathroom. First thing, I opened up the medicine cabinet to see if there was poison. I was ready to kill myself, but there was no poison, just aspirin and Band-Aids. I straightened myself out and I got ready to face niece folks again. This time I made sure that there was no toilet paper hanging off my backside. I guess I was a little nervous, I said to niece's grandmother. We noticed, said niece's mom. I'm going to stop right there, y'all. The next chapter is called The Chitlin Bucket, and I will be starting there when I meet back up, guys. Oh, say, can you see it's the SkkyZone? Guys, thank you. I will talk to you soon. Peace.